I don't. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna call the meeting to order now that it's officially recorded. I don't think there's any changes to the agenda, so we're gonna go to the meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion to approve minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Right. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. Do we have any room for public comment
We had somebody
that wanted to?
signed up for public comment, but I do not see him on yet.
Okay,
No.
well, if he does come in, you can always reorder. I
That's,
can fit it back. into
yep,
the
you're the
agenda.
boss.
All right, I guess we have no unfinished business. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We'll take it as a positive today. We're winning. We'll go into Cox Holiday.
All right, let's look at November's financial statements. You have in the bank, you have $362 dollars, with the reserve amount should have been $469. So you're a little under this year, which is normal for this time of year. Revenue for November was $48,000. Salaries and wages, there were 3 payrolls, so it's a little higher than normal. So subtract the $114,000. Operating expenses in November, $43,000 for a deficit of $109,000. Not unusual for this time of year. Fiscal year to date, we are 42% through the year. So fiscal year, we have a revenue of $535,000. It's 11% below normal, or where we should be this time of year. Salaries, $591,000, which is 4% above. Operating expenses, $174,000, which is about 8% above, for a deficit of $230,000. Comparing that to last year, though, you're about normal, about where we were last year. All right, accounts receivable in November, we had $283,000, 170 of which was the West Virginia Treasury. Any questions on November? Did I miss anything?
Any questions for those online?
Yeah, I have a question. If we're 80% above on the operating side for the month, that doesn't sound too normal to me. Is there a
It's
genuine?
8%.
Oh, eight. Oh, I
Yeah.
got 80.
Sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Um,
I don't have a question as much as just a statement and just a reflection of the commercial AR aging. In November, the commercial AR over 90 is at 62%. That's 69,000 over the 113,000 total. I'm assuming all that's the non-West Virginia Treasury commercial AR. It's just, that's a very key indicator. I want to make sure that we keep that top of mind.
which are you talking about? The 40%, the 113,000?
Right. You see how over 90 days, there's 69,697
Oh,
over
down there,
90.
sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
and that's the total of 113,000. That's over 90, and that's really an indication of the revenue cycle functions, and the commercial, paying for the work that we're doing.
Yeah, that's something we keep our eye on a regular basis, on a daily basis. Wendy does, but also the front desk staff on the clinical side. So we're
I have
on.
no doubt.
We
I have no
were.
doubt in that. Yeah,
I look at that too.
yeah.
Did we do an outside billing? I know at one point in time we hired them for the COVID stuff, but
We don't,
don't.
but they are getting it under control and it's actually improving.
Okay.
And so you'll see a little bit of a change in December on the ARs and stuff, not only because of West Virginia Treasury, but a little bit on the medical billing side too.
okay.
Excellent.
I'd like to wait on voting on accepting November until we go through December, but
Question. What's the normal cycle on the accounts receivable, especially the over 90 days?
Good question. I think this is about normal, but what you normally see. I can look into that for you to get you a better idea of what the normal cycle is for the receivables.
Typically, you see a good bit of receivables post vaccination period. So we tend to bill October, November, December based upon the vaccinations we've done in July, August, September. So not surprising that it's 90 days or more on some of those, but we'll chase them down and continue to chase them down. Unfortunately, these are the 3 months. This is the quarter where we tend to dip below our reserve amount and accounts tend to decline on the way to turning back up, hopefully, which actually December indicates.
Yeah, the payer mix is really different for every organization. Medicaid pays less than others. Sometimes like Medicare in general tends to process claims cleanly, whereas Medicaid and some of the commercials try and deny as many as possible. So you have to rework them. And then getting staff that learns the tricks is really key. So it's hard, like we're very dependent on vaccinations, whereas other places get $50,000 heart surgeries or something.
Right.
So
Is that also the case with the state?
So Medicaid is state monies,
Right.
but then the grants and the allocations from the state, once we bill them, it's quite variable as far as whether they're going to pay within a few weeks or 5 months. Sometimes we can't even bill them until they like for a grant that was to be awarded at a certain time, it doesn't get awarded for months later, even though we've started doing the process.
Grant work.
It can be 4 months behind when the service was rendered, when the payroll was done. So that's 10,000 here and there, but it really adds up. We can try and show how these different chunks where they fall later with some other graphics.
Thank you.
right, we'll do December before we accept November, because I think there might be some good context as well. So you look at the December preliminaries.
Right. In December, your cash did increase. You have $402,000, sorry. You're not in compliance by $114,000. Again, that is not unusual for this time of year. Revenue in December was $60,000. We're going to subtract 93 of salaries, 6,000 of operating expenses for a deficit of 39,000, or actually just under 40,000. Year to date, we're halfway through the fiscal year. Our total revenue, 595,000, which is 14% below. A lot of reasonings for this is grants were billed on January, so it's a good timing difference, which is why that's more below than what you would expect this time of year. Salaries, 684,000, that's 3% above. Operating expenses, 180,000, 3% above, so that actually improves in December. Accounts receivable went down pretty significantly to 171,000, with the West Virginia Treasury only being at 60,000.
That was due to an 18-month lag in a large grant payment that was billed back in 2023, and finally fought that enough to get it in, and that hit the bank account, and that helped a considerable amount on our cash on our balance sheet, so. It took a little while to fight, but it was worth it in the end.
Any questions on December?
None here.
Right, is there a motion to accept November's financial reports?
Make a motion to accept.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
I,
I just have one question that is related to the audit. It's typically that's done like in November.
Yep, I have and I have interest for that.
Okay.
Okay, so previous 2 years or previous 3 years were done by a CPA that we contracted for a 3-year cycle. Her contract was up. Unfortunately, she was delayed in reporting fiscal year 22 and 23. I had to call the state auditor's office to ask them to help her process those. They did so. And that's been processed through, and an RFP just came through this week. And we'll be responding to that RFP to get that audit done before March 15th.
Okay. They'll be able to do it that quickly.
She says she's ready to go now.
Okay.
And we are too, so.
Okay. All right, going on to the agencies. Brandon, other Brandon.
Again, not too much for me. Mainly, I just will be starting the sanitarian training. It's kind of February.
You'll be starting?
I'll be doing the training for the license.
Oh,
I'm still gonna be planning on keeping the title for preparedness coordinator, but just basically doing it just to help out the sanitary, the environmental health side, while they're short staffed. So yeah, it's about a 6-week training, so I'll be in and out. Maybe here for the next couple board meetings, not sure, but besides that.
Thanks for doing that. Environmental. Alexis.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I can't get my camera to start, so you'll just have to deal with my voice. But yes, as Brandon already spoke about, we're going to have him go through the sanitarian training. We've been working on the hiring process to fill the 2 vacant sanitarian 1 positions that we have for about a month and a half now. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to fill that. We've had a lot of no-shows to interviews, no responses. I've been really ramping up recruiting and publishing on other sites like LinkedIn. I've been publishing on Facebook. We did do a PSA. We put it out on all of the regular ones, Indeed, Monster, the general job sites. I did schedule an interview this morning for next week, so I'm hoping that will work out. But we are up against a tough deadline on that because we have to have somebody in ready to go to sanitarian training by February 11th. So and obviously we have to make the accommodations for that training, well beforehand, hotel rooms and such, as it involves traveling to Charleston. So graciously, thank you so much, Brandon. He's going to kind of bridge his threat preparedness position with some light sanitarian duties, just to kind of help us keep afloat. If you look at the activity report, our side did not slow down at all in December, especially on septic. Usually our septic applications tend to take a pretty big dip, but they're pretty much on target. They're hitting averages for the rest of the year, despite snow days and holidays. So we have had to put 1 sanitarian dedicated fully to handling all of our incoming septic. And actually, I am going to be handling a lot of our incoming plan reviews and complaints. We did see a decent amount of complaints in December. We had about 5. Plus, I think we had a general sand complaint as well. Those resulted, unfortunately, in 3 noted closures. The first one was a general sanitation closure. So that was a hotel/motel related to a pest control incident. That block of rooms is closed. I did do a full investigation of the rest of the rooms. It is a type of facility where it's not all in one house. So it's sort of like a motel setup. So the rest of the rooms I cleared, but one block has still remained closed currently. I'm in communication with the owner to see if and when he will be ready to reopen those rooms. The second closure was also in response to a complaint. That one was a food facility that we have had a confirmed foodborne illness outbreak occur here once before. When we got into the facility, there was a significant amount of uncorrectable. So there was no solution we could come to on site. It required closure and sanitizing and cleaning. So that did take about 3 days. But we were able to successfully reopen that facility the following week, and it's open now. We did do a follow-up of which they passed. And then the final closure was again in response to a couple of complaints that we received. This closure was in result of we called it a public health nuisance. So we utilized the West Virginia Health Code to close that facility. It was about 5 uncorrectable violations to the public health code, but it was more so just the general safety of the food being prepared in that facility that was the concern. I worked with the owner to kind of develop a solution to that, and they are now successfully open and operating. Thankfully, we were able to get that done the week before Christmas, so they didn't miss out on the holidays. I was really grateful for that. And they are open now. But otherwise, yeah, our main attention is just responding to the complaints, making sure our septic permits are getting done on time as the county continues to see growth and development. We don't want to hinder any of that progress. We are seeing a lot of building and zoning is sending a lot of clients our way for home loan evaluations and well and septic structural integrity evaluations. So that number is going up a little bit. So we're definitely busy. We're short staffed. We're struggling. I'm just kind of survival mode over here trying to get through, but that's pretty much all the update that I have for now.
Thanks, Alexis.
Mhm.
Hang in there. Hang in there. Well,
Yeah, thanks.
you find somebody quickly.
Yeah, agreed.
Clinical.
For our clinical side, everything is, all our numbers are where we expected to be for family planning, breast cancer, and cervical cancer screening, sexually transmitted infections, vaccinations, and TB. There's nothing really much to report, and unless you have any questions, I would like, we have Katie here today to talk about QRT. She came in to specifically talk to you guys and give you some report on the QRT program.
Hi, I'm Katie Blunt. I am the PRSS here on the QRT team, as well as Angel. She's not here today. I did want to just share a little bit about what we've been doing in the community, and I do have just one kind of feel-good story that I wanted to share with you guys. It's been a while since I last spoke here at a meeting, so the story I wanted to share with you, it started about a year ago, a little short of a year ago, with a whole family that was living in a tent in the woods in active addiction. And we met this family through our work with a community partner. We've continued to work with the entire family, but one of the women in particular, who was in active addiction and in need of mental health medication, as well as some major physical health stuff that she needed to have checked on. We were able to work with her, get her into a shelter. She was able to get stabilized on her mental health medication. She started Suboxone for her opiate use disorder, and she has since stopped that maintenance medication of Suboxone. So she is completely drug-free other than her mental health meds and her physical health medications. She's completely stabilized there and is helping out at the shelter, doing different roles there, and has become a role model for the others there. We continue to work with her weekly and continue to try to work on her goals and what she plans to do moving forward. And we just love seeing her growth. That's not often the case where we get to continue to work with people. A lot of times we'll help them go to treatment or help them with whatever the situation is. And then sometimes we don't hear from them again, or sometimes we'll get some phone calls, but to continue to have face-to-face time weekly with somebody and continue that work with them is really rewarding. Yeah, it's very rewarding. Some of the other accomplishments that we've made in the community include mass Narcan trainings that we've done for the Charlestown Police Department. We did a mass Narcan training for Job Corps. We did all of their students, all of their staff, and we continue to go back monthly to do all of their new students as new people, new staff and students arrive. So they want to make sure that everyone there is always trained. We have also been able to help, my count as of yesterday was 28 people who were incarcerated at Eastern Regional Jail to get out of Eastern Regional Jail and go to substance use treatment at different facilities across the state. So we've been able to foster and build really great relationships, not only with the jail, but with the attorneys who make the referrals directly to us now. And really great relationships with a lot of the rehabs across the state, because we do have Pyramid here locally, but sometimes that doesn't work for everyone. So and we've also continued our collaboration with Dr. Humerick with WVU, doing outreach weekly and just being able to meet people where they are and provide medical services and peer services, recovery services, resources to people wherever they are in the community.
Do you ever get any, do you have any interaction with the prosecutor's office here? Or is it more because it's on the defense side, I guess, maybe not so much? But...
Yeah, not so much. They
Okay.
kind of do that at the lawyer level, so
Right.
we haven't directly had any kind of work with them, but the attorneys work all that stuff out.
Right.
We would prefer to have this role as entirely an advocate for the client. And when we're working even with the drug treatment courts, our loyalties can get split. And so we have to be careful of that, because obviously a lot of confidential information when people are doing something that's illegal. But it's, how many Job Corps people was it that you saw?
Oh my goodness. Dr. Reedy, you're putting me on the spot. I believe I told you it was 90 something the very first training. And then I think as we've gone back, it's been just a handful, 9 or 10 since then. But I think it was 91, if I'm remembering correctly, the very first one, which was everyone, every staff member and every student.
Wow. Yeah. Great.
Good work.
Any questions? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is that it for you? All right. Dr. Reedy.
So weird month, including this week with all the days off. Next week, we might have a 5-day work week. And then we have another 4-day work week because of Martin Luther King Day. But not a lot changed as far as our overall work in the community. A lot of influenza going around, and COVID continues. I get every other day, I get a call from someone that wants to know about what they're supposed to do if they've been sick. No other major outbreaks of other things. So the RSV, the influenza, and the COVID, I mean, respiratory illnesses. We are seeing some cases of norovirus. Norovirus is not a reportable disease, so we only become aware if someone calls or if there's an outbreak in a daycare or a nursing home. This is a seasonal thing. Every year's different. There's always a worry is a food service worker showing up to work with diarrhea, and if their policies are, you better come to work or you're going to lose your job. That's not good for norovirus, which is highly infectious. So if we have a suspicion it's linked to a certain food establishment, then that would be an investigation. The but otherwise, no big changes. They did hear from the West Virginia First Foundation, the joint grant request we had with Jefferson Community Ministries did not get approved in their first cycle. But then there's another cycle that it's gonna be resubmitted with some changes. And that's the Community Ministries is taking the lead on that. And so hopefully and I have not heard from the county commission about any grants. So have you?
Have not yet.
Have they been pretty helpful? Like, I sit on a different state board, and usually like if an application isn't gonna meet the standards, our executive director works pretty diligently with the applicants to get it in the right place. Has First Foundation been?
I haven't seen what they sent to the director at JCCM, but he did, communicate that they did get it and they're resubmitting and they got it nice. So it's yes.
I have a question only about something you said just a little bit earlier. Which disease was it that you said is not reportable?
Norovirus.
Oh, okay.
So, and part of the problem with that is there's some other reportable diseases that it's kind of hard to know what to do with the reports. So influenza isn't reportable. COVID is no longer reportable when someone has that. RSV is never reportable. Deaths from influenza or RSV in children are reportable. But otherwise we get our information from either our social context or people calling or some information from the hospital and then looking at the CDC and the state data trends.
Okay. I've never even heard of the norovirus.
Yeah, that's the one that gets outbreaks on ships.
Oh, okay.
You get locked in your room for the rest of the trip.
Oh,
And,
Yeah.
I don't think so.
so it's highly infectious. It's worldwide and it just comes in clusters.
I think most people think it's just like they call it a stomach flu, but it's not the flu, it's norovirus, but.
And some
Okay.
people get just a little ill. So there was a recent outbreak I'm aware of that most people were not really sick with it in 2 days. They were all better. But other times it can get people really ill that they get dehydrated because they're vomiting so much and having diarrhea. And of course, if you're physically ill anyway, if you have chronic diseases, we're vulnerable to that stress.
Yeah, that almost sounds like dysentery, though. Okay.
Yes, so it's one of the many organisms. One thing that has changed in the last few years with respiratory and gastrointestinal illnesses is the technology is there that they can, on a sample of stool or a throat swab, they can test for 20, 25 different pathogens by looking at the nucleic acid. They can get an answer within an hour at the emergency room. In the past, a lot of viruses we never tested for. Most of my career, RSV was never tested for in adults, and we would just say that the person had a bad viral episode. Now we can say it's RSV or it's mycoplasma pneumonia or influenza or COVID. In China now, there's a metapneumovirus that's hit the news. That's the major one we see all the time. We don't even report that ever, but it is there. So there are a lot of different things. And the same with the stool. Used to send stool samples off, and you had to order each different organism separately, and it would be either looking for the eggs or the parasites under the microscope, which was a real where's Waldo, do you find it or not? Or seeing if it grows in culture. So you were days to get reports. A nice thing now is very rapidly, you can tell, is this a virus? There is no need for an antibiotic, or is it a bacterial infection that an antibiotic is useful for, or a bacterial infection that an antibiotic is harmful for? So that's really changed a lot. So we're getting a lot of information that is sometimes getting reported as we're seeing a surge in new cases. And it's like, yeah, we never tested for it before. So I don't know if this is historically new or not. So Elliot, you said you'd never heard of norovirus. Well, there's stuff that I've never heard of that I say, oh, they got this. And then I look it up and says, oh, this has been around a long time.
That's interesting. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You can find out about a lot of diseases just with pharmaceutical ads.
Yes,
Like, oh.
I might
I
have
didn't even know I had that.
That might explain something.
Well, they know that doctors watch television too.
Right.
We don't let them in the office to,
Right.
so they try and get us through the ads on TV.
And the doctor's like, oh, I've never heard of that.
So a question about the grant request with JCCM. Do you have any sense of, so it sounds like it's gonna be reapplied, but sort of sense of when that may or may not occur?
I believe in February. I do not know the exact time, but it's, yeah, there's a strict timeline that
Okay.
you get it in. If you don't have it, we're not looking at it. So they have a pretty clear process. Their website is valuable, and it does give the list of all the agencies that got the grants. They have a separate heading of grants. They talked about what it is and all that. And so this is, and there will be more money in the months and years to come that we will look for other partners to. So we talked about the police and stuff, so partnering with them to have people diverted from incarceration or arrest if they are referred to start getting services. So a lot of people, just like traffic tickets, there's some discretion that officers can use, and sometimes going to jail may be what's really needed, and sometimes that would be really what's not needed. So partnering with them instead of being in separate things is one of our goals.
Thank you. All right, yeah.
So on the financial reports, one of the nice things is the bank account balance is rising. That's usually a good indication that we're moving in the right direction. So that's very nice. A couple things that were not in there, which are in January, you do have the big quarterly state aid. Third quarter is bigger than the first and second quarter. Fourth quarter is the largest of all, but the third quarter is a sizable one. It's about $120,000. You'll have that in there. Also be able to bill hopefully the QRT, which we've obviously incurred expenses, good expenses, but something that we need to be reimbursed for to the tune of probably about $75,000 to $80,000. So that'll hit the books eventually too in the next few months when we can build it. And then of course, threat prep grant had not yet been billed because we had some receipts and stuff that Brandon provided with me about a week ago, and so I can bill that now for the second quarter. So, but financially we're okay. We're trending in the right direction like we usually do going through January to May. And so also budgeting, the budget will be we'll be beginning to work on the budget January, February, and then start showing you in March, preliminary budgets and stuff so that we're prepared to vote on it in April or May. I like to do it a month ahead like you do, so we'll move from there. Other than that, I do have one announcement. This will be my last Board of Health meeting. I will be moving on to another organization. My last day will be next Friday, the 17th. And I can't thank you all anymore for the support you've given me, Karen, especially. And of course, Brandon, everybody else here. And of course, you, Dan. I know that you'll be a great board member. So, of course, Dr. Reedy has been a tremendous mentor and a tremendous support for me. And can't thank him enough. So.
Well, thank you very much for your service. You came in at a very tough time, big time of transition in public health and with this organization, and you tackled it, and thank you very much for your service. You have a lot to be proud of.
I didn't do it alone. There's tremendous people here. Like I said, when I announced it to the staff, I had never worked in government before. I always believed all the propaganda of being inside. These are selfless public servants, and they care about what they do very, very much. And definitely changed my opinion on the people who run our government organizations. Wonderful people,
Got a great team here, that's
Yep.
for sure.
absolutely.
The lowest 35% accounts receivable from the proportion is the lowest I've ever seen.
Yeah, we pushed on that over the last few months, so I want to make sure we leave the bank account in a place where they have the support to be able to pay the individuals who work here. That's the most important part of the job.
I have a question about the accounts receivable. So if the QRT grant, what we've spent already that hasn't yet been submitted to the state for payment, that does not yet show on account
It
receivable.
has not been, it's not been billed at all,
So there
so
are monies out there that.
yes,
we
this is the
incur
ghost account
expense,
receivable.
But they can't show up anywhere.
Correct,
Except
so.
on expense.
Yeah, and that'd be probably between $70,000 and $80,000, I would estimate, looking at it the other day when I looked at what the QRT expenses have been, and by obviously they're doing tremendous work, so it's something we would like to continue. Unfortunately, the state's dragging their feet on this one, and I don't know why.
Okay.
I've chased after them, and they said, we'll get back to you on that. You know how that goes.
All right, well, if there's nothing else, our next meeting will be February 14th. That's Valentine's Day, isn't it?
It
All
is.
right. I don't acknowledge it, but that's like, I don't do that. It sets up for fights, right? Because if you expect something, you don't get it, like, it just becomes a thing, and it's kind of the opposite of what you're supposed to accomplish, right?
Very
Like,
true.
it's just sort of, and I'm not saying it's usually my partner that's the one that screws it up.
Listen to the George Carlin bit on like Valentine's Day.
Okay.
It's the best funny few-minute rant.
All right, so I expect streamers and chocolates next month. I'm kidding.
Roses.
Roses.
Well, you were upset we didn't invite you to the wear pink on the. wear pink
Well,
thing.
I was a little upset about that, but no, I'm just kidding. But I wore my button all day long.
Yeah, we had
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you. Hopefully no discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll see everybody next month.
All right, thank you.